and welcome back. I am Conan the Lybarian with Obsidian Portal, and this is It's in the Cards. If you're not entirely familiar with what we do here, make sure to check out Obsidian Portal's channel for the intro video, where I go over the rules and guidelines that I'm going to use as I go through this. So, let's crack open our next story. So a couple disclaimers real quick before I get into this. One, I am terrible at spelling. I would say I'm going to fix this in post, but I'm not. Two, I'm not going to be using the card packs to create the story specifically around that setting or story, but that doesn't mean I might not use an element from the card. A name or a particular image may be inspiration for something bigger. I don't think it's fair to just discount the card simply because that's what I'm holding. I'm just not going to create something specifically about that theme. So as I go through this, I'm going to throw up a couple plot points. These are things I like to fill in as a GM as I create to make sure there's enough depth for my players to really enjoy and get into and dig into. The first one, obviously story, what the overall story is about, the hook, what gets your players wanting to play it instead of just staying in the tavern, or what keeps them from just murder hoboing the NPC you put in front of them, the hero, the villain, the conflict, the action conclusion, and our question marks, and I'll get to those as we move through. So I have, for our first one, kind of a special one. This is X-Files Season 2 Trading Cards. I'm not sure what this is going to do for us, but I'm excited to crack this open and find out. Oh, so sealed. Exactly what kind of story we've got here. Now, as I fill these out, I may change things around. What I put in the story, the hook, the characters, whatever it might be, may move around. The point is that we just stay moving through. Oh, they're so stuck together. Oh, they've been in storage for a very long time. So we're just going to peel off the first one and go with our story. Do you hear that? Oh my gosh. Our story. Okay. Sleepless. So that is pretty terrifying. Alright, and that's something we can work with. Obviously, a monster is a good one. Man with an eye watching over his back. The title of the card is Sleepless, but I think what I'm going to go here is someone who's paranoid, right? He's looking over his back, and yeah, we're going to go with paranoid person, someone who's watching over their back. Okay, so now we need our hook. And again, the hook is what gets your party engaged. Wow, these cards are super cool and really abstract. A lot more abstract than I thought I was going to dig into, but I'm really digging this. I feel really bad. You can see that these things are so stuck together. So a skull with some sigils, some sort of demonic skull or something. So we have someone who's watching over his back and he's scared. Our hook is that what gets them drawn in. Our hook in this case is that they actually, while they hear about some guy who's really terrified and scared, the hook is that the party actually finds some sort of occult thing happening. So that's going to be our hook, is that the party either finds or is confronted by some sort of occult happening. Okay, so now we need our hero. And a hero doesn't necessarily mean that they're the good guy. A hero just means who the story focuses around or what the story focuses around. So we're going to... Oh, I'm going to tear these cards. This is terrible. Oh. This is... Okay. So, pretty classic. We've got Dana and Scully themselves just looking pretty dapper. I think her shoulder pads are as big as his actual shoulders. Our heroes here, it's a little too on the nose to say that they're people that hunt the occult and the weird. I do also like, though, that they look sort of mysterious themselves. So what we're going to say is that our heroes themselves, our hero in this case, is going to be a mystery, right? So they're this person that the party is introduced to who is trying to find... No, again, that's too on the nose. We want something unrelated. But we do have these mysterious people. The hero is someone that, in this case, because we have our story, we have our hook, our hero is the person that's paranoid. This mysterious person who won't let on exactly why they're paranoid or what this occult thing is that's happening or why they're exactly scared of it. So, our hero. So, after that, we have our hero, we have our story, we have our plot, we need our villain. And again, a villain doesn't have to be specifically a bad guy or a traditional I'm gonna get you sort of person. A villain can be all sorts of things. So, okay. So in this case, we have in fact someone being murdered while someone watches on. We're going to say that our villain is in fact someone that, with someone being murdered by this horrible monster. I don't want to say that's just a straight up monster, but I do like the idea. We have someone who's scared for their life. We've got someone who is telling them that I know something's coming to get me. I know that this occult is after me, or these people are tracking me. Our first card we had... Let's get back to this. We have this man with this monster literally in his skin, and it's metaphorical in this case. But we have a card here where this guy actually has this thing coming out of him. So, what if our villain is not just something that's tracking him, but in this case, something he has inside of him? We've already got the monster, the eyeball in his shoulder, we've got this monster that's killing people, so that's our villain, is the thing inside of him. I like that. So, we've got all these points, and I've got these question marks up, and what these question marks are for me, as a creator, as a story writer, I tend to come up with a lot of random ideas, and I don't like to just throw them out. I don't like to just cast something off just because it might not fit immediately in the story, and sometimes I have a great idea at that moment, and I don't want to lose it. So I tend to write down a lot of random things. So these question marks are kind of wild cards, but in this case, what I like here, he's scared that this cult's coming after him. He has this monster in him that's killing people. What if he's not necessarily just scared because they're coming after him, but they're coming after him because of this creature? If this cult is trying to stop the monster inside of him from going on this spree. I like that a lot. Okay, so now we have our conflict, and a conflict is where the party, the hero, the villain, the action happens. They all meet, something happens, this culmination, what draws them all together. I always like to kind of pick a specific conflict because it gives a point to drive toward. I think there are a lot of really great modules and stories and settings where a lot of stuff happens, but ultimately there's always still the one big bad guy fight or the one final solution to a puzzle. So we need a conflict, or that final meeting. And what we have here is a bunch of people standing around an elephant. Okay, and this is actually production notes about this elephant. I think I remember what episode this is, if you're an X-Files fan at all. I think this is the one where there's an invisible elephant. I don't remember 100%. But what we have is this elephant here. We're talking about this creature, or this beast. We're going to say that this elephant is in fact the monster that's released. He doesn't release an actual elephant, but the conflict is that this creature inside of him finally is released. And the occult is there, the party is there. So that to me says a great conflict is suddenly, while the party's been helping this man and trying to find out why the cult is after him, they're trying to find out what he's hiding. They're trying to find out more about this thing he has inside of him as they've learned more, only to reach the conclusion of this one-shot, this story, to have this thing finally burst forth from him. So that's going to be our conflict. Okay, and finally we need a conclusion. And the conclusion is a little different than these points that we have here. A conclusion to a story is one thing, like a book or a chapter. You write it, and that's what happened. When you write a conclusion for an adventure, a one-shot, or something to happen at your table, you need options. Your party will always derail your plans. And maybe they won't always derail your plans, but very rarely as a GM does everything go exactly as you have planned. So to me, when I write a conclusion, I have a general outline of what can happen. I think about what the party does if they're going to murder everyone, if they're going to walk away, if they're going to save an NPC that I've portrayed as generally hospitable or someone they can like, or if I've put someone out there for them to just hate and want to murder. So what we have for our conclusion is... Okay, well that's... that is the classic X-Files smoking man. I don't know what episode this is, but they've got a gun to his head. Now, in this case, in this card, when you're looking at him, he looks scared, and he just looks like an old man. And the content aside, even though we know who this is, he looks like a scared old man. Someone just has a gun to someone's face. With our conclusion here, with our post-action, the man that's released this monster, who's been tracked by the cult, who's, in this case, almost just a victim, is suddenly put on the spot. He has to be dealt with. And that's where your conclusion is. So we're going to say that our conclusion is that the party has to decide what happens to this man. Because maybe he has to die in order for the monster to be slain. Maybe he has to be locked away so it can't happen again. Maybe he's turning into this monster once again. So that's our conclusion here. Okay, so let's just go through the story real quick here. Our story is that there's a man who's paranoid because he's being tracked by the occult, and he doesn't know exactly what's happening. The hook is that the party realizes that this man actually has something inside of him, some sort of creature or monster or something. And that's our hero. The focus of this story is this victim of this curse or whatever it is that's inside of him. We have our villain in this case would be presented originally as the cult that's tracking him, but you come to find that it's this thing he has inside of him. It's the villain because the man can't control it. It's the villain because the cult that's tracking him is tracking this monster itself. We have the conflict where this creature inside of him finally is released. And then we have the conclusion and the action where he has to be dealt with. As a GM, I would be really pumped to put this in front of my players because it's very open-ended, what will you do? I think that I would give them any of these options to kill the man and take care of the monster, to help the cult seal him away, or possibly, if they're more of a good aligned party, try to find some sort of redemption for this person. I think that works out pretty well. Our title, we need something, kind of sums it up. He's got a monster inside of him. The party's trying to keep him hidden and help him. The party is fighting the occult and then ultimately possibly working with them. We have this poor victim of this curse or this creature inside of him. We need a decent name. I think I want to go with... Well, I really liked the imagery here. Just of this card, the eyeball on this guy, this creature inside of him. Little cheeky, little on the nose, but I really like it. I think that it works for this. This is something that would run probably really at any level. They're in any system, low-level aberrations and monsters you can drop in, and I think this would work in any type of campaign. High fantasy is easy, you have the cult, Cthulhu is easy, even Shadowrun or some of these more D20 modern systems, monsters, cults, and moral decisions are classic tropes that can be dropped into anything. So, I'm glad we could do this. I'm excited to see what happens with the next pack of cards. I'm not sure what I'm going to open. I'm really happy with what was generated here. I got a lot more out of this than I thought I would, and I'm excited to see what we crack open in our next story. Make sure, drop a comment below, let me know what you would have done with these cards. I think there are a lot of really cool options and a lot of neat ways this story could have gone. And don't forget, hop online to obsidianportal.com, your one-stop for all your campaign management needs. More depth than a bag of holding, more features than a bag of tricks. Obsidian Portal has everything you need to make your campaign great. Your party doesn't just stay at the tavern. Why should your campaign just stay at your table?